Good afternoon, everybody. Glad everybody's here. We have a really another big game here, homecoming coming on Saturday. We're looking forward to it with a good team in Maryland coming into town. Looking forward to that. We have another excellent quarterback coming in here. Moves around in the pocket a lot, and it's going to be a challenge for us. We've been playing this guy now for 3 years. We know we need to do better as a coaching staff and as a team, and we've been addressing that throughout this week, and feel like we'll be able to go out and play a much better brand of football on Saturday. Our players and coaches have really been putting a lot of great work this week, just talking things through and getting things worked out to where we can go out and execute. The word I've been using this week, focused on, is discipline. If we're disciplined, we're going to give ourselves a chance to play a much better ball game on Saturday. Less penalties and substitution errors and things like that. We can't have those things, and we talked about that a lot. And so discipline is the key.
Any questions? Start here with Matt.
Hey Harlon, I was wondering how you, amid all this with Mel being, the notice to fire him, how do you rally the players and staff and all that amid this turmoil? And I guess, did your experience at Florida State in a somewhat similar situation help you to go through this process?
Well, that's a good question. It's funny to bring that up, Florida State, but I am actually still meeting with the players. Some players in the 80s now, individually. So met with some guys yesterday who had a different experience from last week's guys that I met with, because now we got a game experience, and then the other things that are going on. But the person that actually told me, one of the good ideas was to meet with all the guys, is my guy at Florida State that became an interim coach, Odell Higgins, and he's the one that actually said, man, I would suggest that you meet with all those players because it really helped me. He's at the staff as well. So, and it ended up being a really good idea by him, because you get a lot of insight from the players, one-on-one. They feel like they can share with you, and so it's been really good.
How you doing? To say the situation you're in, the program is in, to say it's unique is an understatement. But I'm just curious to know, what can you share with us about being a head coach that no one would know, you would not have known until you got the head coaching position?
Say that again. Rephrase that question.
Yeah. What is it that you can tell us about being a head coach that nobody would know, no one would understand until you're actually in that position?
I got you. Come and see you guys every week. Not everybody knows that. Everybody knows that, but there are things that you just don't anticipate. Like a position coach is just totally different. Obviously, you don't have to do these things like this and different, and then just the outside peripheral things that you do with the program, how you're going to run the team meeting, what you're going to do in the team meeting, how you're going to set that up and talk to the guys about it, or the whole entire team about what you have to say, the message you're trying to get across, things like that. So you just have a different mindset as opposed to being a position coach. I don't know if that truly answers your question, but a little bit.
All right, thank you.
Looking back at Saturday's game, when you go over the film of a game like that, where both sides of the ball had their issues, I guess, what did you take from that? Is it a moment where you kind of dig in on that film, throw it out, and how do the guys mentally put that aside as one game when you gave up 700 plus yards, when you didn't move the ball like you wanted to?
We attack the details. So just an example, and I'll give examples in all areas. So if you talk offensively, a receiver supposed to run the route at 14 yards, he runs it at 12. You did it all week at 14, do it at 14, don't get in the game, you know what I mean? Defensive back plays a ball one way in practice, a deep ball, but in the game, he played it totally different, and we knew that was coming. We knew that was something that was going to happen. You get a guy on the punt team, don't take the proper steps, and you did it all week in practice. So we're focused on the details, the discipline of everything right now, and how do we get that accomplished in the game when the crowd is hollering 75,000? We had a great crowd out there on Saturday. How can you remain focused and disciplined to just do your job, just like you did in practice? So that's the focus. That's what we're trying to get done.
In the mental aspect of trying to just
shoving that away?
Yeah, so we had to address the elephant in the room. We definitely addressed that. We got our butt kicked on Saturday. Okay, bam. Now, how do we improve from there and get better from that? It was one game. Coach Hazelton did a really good job with the defense. A unit meeting on yesterday. He had the GAs pull up some scores of NFL games over the last several years, where a team that actually won the Super Bowl or played in the Super Bowl gave up 41, the same number, right? Gave up 41 points throughout the regular season one game, came back the next week and got it right, and then went through the rest of the season, won the Super Bowl. He showed multiple examples of it. So I think that helped the guys as well, seeing that, like, wow, okay. We always talking about being a professional. All these guys want to play in the NFL. You got to be a professional about it. Okay, understand we got our butts kicked. How do we learn from it, get better from it, and improve from it? And then that's the focus now. Just the discipline of everything, of doing everything the right way.
Hey, Harlon Barnett here on your right, in the back row, Jennifer Hyman from Fox 2 in Detroit. Haven't been here yet, it's nice to see you. I understand that it sounds like you're saying, I mean, for most coaches, a loss can really recenter a team. How challenging is it, given all of the things that are going on the outside, and what is your message maybe to, I guess, Spartan faithful, to the team, to everyone, that it's football still and things are going in the right direction?
My message would be, first of all, we're 2-1. We have a winning record right now. We're starting with the beginning of the Big Ten season. We had a great representation last week of Spartan Nation here on the wall, all the way to this, to the game, to the stadium itself. I mean, it was awesome. The energy, everything. And I just hope that everybody come back this week with that same energy, that same passion, and we will bring it as much. We will bring it ourselves as a team, even more so. We have to bring more passion up from our end, and like I said, the discipline thing. So we want to bring the discipline and the passion and the energy, just like the fans. Let's do it all together. Let's do it all together. Work together, and let's cheer these young men on. We love Spartan Nation, and we know that we want to go out and give them what they want to see, and that's a hard-working team playing the right way, tough, physical, aggressive football. And that's what we know Michigan State football to be. So really would like everybody to come back out with that same energy. We're going to have the energy, and let's go beat Maryland.
One little follow-up, if I may, to that. To what extent do you feel like over the last 9 days you've had to also wear the hat of maybe like psychologist and mentor and maybe big brother to some of these kids and students on the team as much as football coach, and how do you balance that?
That's what I've been doing as a coach. Since I've been a coach, that's part of being a coach. You understand that it's not just about being out on the field. It's about mentoring them through different things in life, different things that can come their way. Coach, what you think about this? What you think about that? And that's the wisdom that we gather as older adults that we can give back to the young men. So that's part of it in my mind. Again, I said this before. I know my purpose. My purpose is to help young men become men. And so that's all a part of it. It's just on a grander scale with a lot more going on, but you gotta do what you have to do.
H, when you broke down the tape from Saturday, were there any position groups that escaped a failing grade, and how would you assess the performance of a first game head coach?
Well, first of all, I didn't escape the failing grade. So that starts with me, right? And then everybody else. I mean, I will say this, Jack, there were some guys, there were some things you like. Everything wasn't terrible. You saw some hope and some light at the tunnel, end of the tunnel. It wasn't consistent enough. You need all 11 to execute. And I always say this: all 11 execute. You win that down, all right. You win that series. You win that quarter. You win that half. You win the game. If all 11 execute, you get all 11 that's on the field to execute, which is hard to do. 11 people doing the right thing at the right time at the same time. And so that's where the focus is. We had some guys, we may have 10 of 11 do right. We had 9 of 11. So it wasn't all this terrible with some things to build upon. We just weren't consistent in our all 11 executing.
One more thing, as a longtime DB's coach, how would you compare Talia Tungavaloa with Michael Penix Jr.?
Talia, man, this dude is all over the place. He's running all over the place, you know. He's different in that manner that he'll move out in the pocket, like he throw the ball from anywhere. Whereas I think Penix he's more of a pocket guy, although we've known him to be a runner years ago at Indiana and all that kind of stuff. But he's trying to stay in the pocket a little bit longer and throw from the pocket, where Talia, he wants to be in the pocket, all of them do, but he don't mind getting out, running around and still throwing it. And so he's going to be a challenge just trying to capture him and get him on the ground. That's the challenge.
Right. Hey, Harlon, you mentioned last, I think it was Saturday night, the idea of wanting to bring more normalcy to the week. And can you tell me like how you do that? And then also, is there also the realization that nothing is going to be quite normal, and so you're going to have to navigate it without it being so?
No doubt. So last week, we like you said, we had to change a whole lot of things because that's what they knew. You know, we already had the news, and so we tried to just keep it as, you know, the times, the meeting times, the practice times, the things we did in practice, all that was pretty much the same. And so they didn't feel like, oh wow, this is a big change. The changes that we did make were slight things that we did, and they all seemed to like those slight changes. But nothing that was so big that they were thrown off course for what we need to get done. And this week, kind of the same ground. We kept it fairly normal to what we've done in the past, with a few changes here and there, and they all like it. The main thing is the time. As long as they know the time is the same, they can be on time where they need to be, we're good. And then the practices and the coaches are the same, you know, as far as, you know, how we coach them and all that kind of stuff.
How about for you personally? Like, what have you, like you talked about meeting with most of the guys last week and stuff, so like how has this week been different than last week, I guess, for you?
Great question. So I haven't been meeting, like last Monday, I met with 27 dudes, man. Yesterday it was like 11 or 12. Big difference, big difference. I also jumped on the Maryland film on Sunday. I'm watching Maryland. Other than that, you know, we got the film graded on Saturday night. That's how I do it after the game, no matter what time the game ends, watch the film. And so Sunday I had a chance to really focus on Maryland and watch them. And beyond what I normally watch was their offense, and now I'm watching offense, defense, and special teams. So I'm watching the entire group, and that was my focus on Sunday. So I already feel more prepared than I did last week for Washington, because I didn't really get a chance to watch them like I wanted to watch them, the entire group.
One more thing. In hindsight, the CMU Richmond, given their limited passing games, going into Michael Penix and those receivers and that coordinator, was that in some ways the worst possible preparation for what you guys then faced? And then is this in some ways the best preparation you could have faced for Maryland dealing with what you did last week?
Exactly. Yes, what you say, I totally agree with what you just said. You know, I'm not gonna say it's total worst, because you gotta respect everybody, Richmond and Central, but they're different than Washington. We all know that, and so, you know, we might have got a little, you know, I ain't gonna say complacent. That's not the word, because we knew what Washington was. We played them last year, so it's not like we were surprised. It's the same guys back, but you know, the preparation of it and all that, and how good those guys really are. Because we did have some guys that played in this year's game that didn't play in last year's game. Although we played them and they heard all the stuff about them and everything, but some of those guys didn't even play in the game last year, and so they got a chance to see the real deal. But so it does help us for this week.
Well, I covered my first Michigan State game in 1960, so I've seen a lot of Michigan State. I don't ever recall seeing the stadium as empty as it was after halftime. How did you react to that, and what do you think now?
Well, we have to play better. We have to play better. We got to make them want to stay. You can't leave. You have to make them want to stay. That's Spartan Nation. So that is a goal by playing better football and being a better disciplined team and putting a better product on the field. So hey, they'll come back. Spartan Nation is strong and resilient, And hopefully they'll come back this week and have that same energy at the beginning and all the way to the end this week.
Yeah, on Saturday after the game, I noticed you used the keep chopping mantra, but like, how do you balance trying to kind of create the clean break that MSU probably wants in this situation versus also kind of trying to maintain some common thread between the two things? And I imagine it's a tricky balance.
Yeah, you're right, because some of those things that we've had implemented are good things. They're good things for the guys, and that's what they, again, talking about some normalcy for the guys, you know. So, like you said, it's a tough balance, but you work it out and figure out when to say, how to say to the guys, and help them to perform at the highest level that they can perform. But again, some of those things were really good things I thought were good for the team and help us become a better team.
And how do you also try to implement or put your own imprint on the team at the same time? Again, trying to maintain some of the previous stuff that
Right.
you guys.
I'll maybe in some sort of way just maybe focused on some of the other things. We talked about all the things that I'm even sharing, but even more so I'm talking about, you know, physicality, running through contact. We talked about all that stuff before, but that's where I'm coming from a lot, you know, because that's just that's my personality. And I believe that you have a really good football team when you can be disciplined and physical, very, very physical. And I think that's intimidating. But you got to be disciplined and physical, smart as well. So those are some of those things that we're talking about to the guys that may have been said but not emphasized as much. So just like that.
Harlon, yesterday Alan addressed the team, letting them know about his intentions of terminating Tucker's contract. So I'm just wondering, sort of, if you felt like it was appropriate timing for him to bring that up to the team, and then also just, yet again, their reaction to it all, because at the center of all this, it really does come down to the players and how they're handling things.
Absolutely, Audrey. He hit me up the day before and said, "What I want to meet with the team," and he didn't say for what. And so I said, he said, "In the morning before practice or after practice?" I said, "After practice. Let's get through practice." And so he met with those guys at noon. Then he met with the 10 assistants after them, and then he met with the support staff after that and shared the news with us. You know, I'd rather not for any news to come to the guys like that, but let's just get it out there and go. Let's get it out there and go. And so, and then the position coaches talk to the guys as well, talk with our guys and to see how they are, what they're thinking. And they've been good. The guys have been really good.
And then just one quick follow-up. You obviously love this university, you bleed green, you mentioned it last week, and there's no doubt about that whatsoever. So have you had to bring in any of the other assistant coaches in a sense of trying to keep them on track and to let them understand what Spartan Nation is in a sense, or, you know, what is their reaction kind of been like this week? Just because you mentioned Scotty too has been, you know, really immersed in getting things back on track after last week, but just their general sense of it all.
They've been really good. Jay Johnson, Cat, Coach Chris Kapilovich, he's been really great. I mean, all those guys have been great. Anything you need, Coach, anything you need, I can go out. Everyone. So I didn't say any names, don't get mad at me, but every one of them have come up to say something to me, as well as the support staff. Whatever you need, Coach, we got you, just let us know. Whatever you need. And so they've been very, very supportive and very professional in everything that they do. So love those guys, really good coaching staff.
Hey Harlan, I'm in front here. I know what you said last week about Belichick, but I was just wondering if you had an update on Tyneal, Chuck, or Jaron and Jalen in the backfield as far as moving forward.
Tyneal, I had to remember everything he said. Tyneal, lower body injury. Chuck, upper body injury. No, they'll be Tyneal. I can say this about Tyneal. Tyneal, you know, he had surgery, and I spoke with he and his mom a couple nights ago after the surgery, and he's doing well. He's in good spirits, and so that's his deal. Chuck will be fine. He'll be fine. There's nothing major with Chuck. Who else did you ask?
The running backs, Jalen Berger and Jaron Mangan.
Berger and Mangum are probably still about a week or so away, probably. So, but they're working hard at it and looking to get back soon.
And then just offensively, things were going well the first two games after a little bit of, rocky starts, but how does that group handle, have they handled what happened on Saturday where really very little went right?
Again, they got back in the lab, so to speak, and with Coach Johnson and talked about the details, attention to details. Like I mentioned earlier, one of the things I said was like a receiver going to 12 as opposed to 14. And amongst the other things, that's just one little example of things that happen. Again, we have a really good coaching staff, and those guys are getting everything corrected, and we're focused on the details, the discipline and the details this week. And you'll see a better product because of that this Saturday.
I'm wondering, I know you've had a lot to handle these last week or so, but has there been sort of a discussion about the program's recruiting strategy? I mean, how do you communicate with like seniors right now when the future of this program just is so unclear? Or do you focus more on younger kids that have time to sort of just learn Michigan State as a whole, maybe not specific to a staff? And just, what's sort of the general plan for recruiting right now without any clarity?
Well, fortunately, because I got a chance to speak with all the recruits, the committed recruits, and they've been really good. They've been really good so far, especially last week. We'll do it again this week. I get on actual FaceTime with those guys and talk with them, and they've been good. They've been good so far. Everybody knows what has to happen and all that kind of stuff. So they're hanging. They love Michigan State as of now, right now, and everything themselves. And the parents are good. So talking to the parents and the kids, and they've been good. And our coaches talk to them as well. I didn't talk to all of the parents. I talked to all 13 commits, and they were good.
Does it sort of have to be more about selling Michigan State as opposed to any single staff or scheme or structure? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it is about Michigan State, and yeah, it's about Michigan State for sure, and what it means, and I can definitely talk about that. As a former player and now a coach for a long time, just the university in itself and Michigan State football in the Big Ten Conference. So it's a great place to be.
One other thing, if I could, you talked about the quarterbacks and the differences. I'm wondering just how Maryland, their offensive scheme, will they try to test you guys some of the same ways? Are they more different than a week ago? Are there some similarities, or where maybe are there
some similarities? They not as many chuck them down the field, but they'll throw it down there, and they have some long receivers that can run and go get the ball. And like I said, he stays alive. He keeps things alive. So again, he's a capture guy. We always talk about it's a quarterback, a capture quarterback, or a kill quarterback. He's a capture quarterback. We have to capture him and understand we have to stay on his upfield shoulder and not let him get outside the pocket, make him step up in the pocket, where we can, have bodies around and get him down on the ground.
Harlon in the back. With Coach Antonio back now for a full week, obviously didn't wear a headset on Saturday, but what is his role and how does that kind of change now does it change now that he's kind of been here for a week and a little bit more immersed?
He's been a real great resource as an advisory role deal. He said because he's trying to absorb it and get it all in, the terminology and all of that stuff, and so he's just watching, observing, and then he'll come and say something to me or to staff even. This is what I see, because we all ask, because everybody want to absorb the wisdom that he has from being a head coach and a successful head coach at that. So he's being very observant, watching, seeing what he sees, what we could do here or do there, and he's been good. He's been really good at that.
Alan, Jennifer, one more time. Just to follow up to Audrey's question about Alan meeting with the team yesterday, what did you take from maybe what their spirits were, what the reaction was to that news? Is it something that maybe they can cut and move forward? Was it heavy? Can you just kind of surmise what the mood was in the room after that?
So he met with them individually. He met with them himself when he met with the team. Then he came up and met with us. So I wasn't actually in there with them when he said it. You know what I mean? So, but they were good this morning when we had the team meeting and everything. Because again, that was after practice yesterday. Right. And so other than that, I didn't get a chance to see everybody again until this morning. I met with some guys individually yesterday because they were on the schedule to meet with me.
Did you get a sense what their kind of reaction to that was?
When Alan came up there, he said, because we did ask him, we asked Alan, the staff, and he said it was good. He thought it was nothing major, you know. Nobody said anything, blurted out anything or anything like that. But from what he could tell, you know, young people, sometimes you have no clue what they're feeling. You know, anybody that has kids or had teenagers before, you're like, what does he think? I have no idea, right? So, but I think they were good.
Two more to Chris and Ryan, wrap it up.
Kind of on the lines of what Reiner asked a little bit ago, now that you would take up the coaching position, the top spot, I would imagine it's pretty difficult to try and make any kind of wholesale changes at this point in terms of structure and scheme. Where are you at with that? Do you have to kind of go with what you installed in the camp, or can you tinker and toy with that to your liking at this point?
I see what you're saying. It would be, you're right. I mean, you went through spring ball. I think some of these guys years because they've been here with the same staff. But we have a good staff. We do it. We have a good scheme. We did some things different things off season that we liked, that we've implemented, and so if there were anything that I would suggest or tinker with, it wouldn't be anything way out of structure from what we're doing. It'd just be a minor little deal there, but you know, it could be good. You know, so we'll see. But right for now, we're moving ahead with what we have and how we do it.
Ron, whether it's you who gets it or somebody else, how attractive do you think the Michigan State job is, you know, especially in the new Big Ten with the 4 added teams next year? Extremely attractive.
Of course, I'm gonna say this, it's the best job in America. It's Michigan State in the Big Ten. Go green, go white all day. And so it's a fantastic place. It always has been. Since 1985, when I first came up here, I said this last week. So, great place, great job, great people. It really is. And, you know, unfortunately we had, you know, some things where people look down a little bit on us, but hey, it's an awesome place. It is an awesome place.
We're gonna wrap it up with Jim.
Hey, you mentioned Capillic a minute ago, and he's been supportive and so forth. When you talk with him about the running game, what are some of the things that he says need to be done, details-wise, to get next step?
Detail-wise, we haven't gone into details with him, not this week anyway, Jim. But he you know, he hit me up and after the game in a text, and was like, Coach, you know, I'm gonna be better. And I said, no, I'm gonna be better. You know, that's how coaches are. Everybody, he just hit me up, and I was like, that's how our coaches are, though. You know, all of us would want to be better. But he was one of them, as well as some others. Said, hey, man, we gonna be better. And that's what I love about our staff, because everybody takes it on themselves to say, hey, we need to get this done. We need to get it better. We lead coaching staff. It really is a good coaching staff.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks.